I really believe the way you start your day sets up the way you live your day. I really believe that the way you win is how you begin. I really believe that if you can get that first hour right, I call it the victory hour in my book, The 5 a.m. Club, if you can calibrate that first hour to optimize what I call your 4 interior empires of mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set, then you're going to walk out into the world at 6 o'clock where you're feeling so much more focus in this age of dramatic distraction. You're feeling so much more creativity, and you are in many ways built as a human being to express your primal genius and your creativity. If you get that first hour right, what you're also going to find is you're going to shift from fake work to real work. There are a lot of people who are busy being busy, but what's the point of being busy about the wrong things? So I know you know this, but just to really bring into sharper focus to you, there's a big difference between productivity and busy, and may we never spend our best hours just sort of being busy around trivialities. You get that first hour right, you're also going to feel a lot happier through the day, which is incredibly important, because when you are happy and you protect your hope and inspiration, then you produce amazing things and you lift all the people around you up, not only people at work, but people out on the street and people within your home.
Need motivation?
Watch the top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Robbin Sharma, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, fill your brain with dreams.
Fill your mind with brave dreams so there is no room for petty worries. An idle mind, it's not my idea, it's a very old proverb, but the idle mind is the devil's workshop. You see, if you don't know your mighty mission, if you don't have these brave ideals that you're waking up in the morning, yes, at 5 a.m. while the world is asleep, and living your days for, if you have not found a crusade that is larger than your life, then what tends to happen is you fill the space and hours of your days with trivial and superficial pursuits. You worry about what the neighbor thinks. You misunderstand the way someone looks at you. You make everything some kind of you become an injustice collector when most people aren't even saying anything or doing anything against you. But that's what happens when you have a mind, a heart, a spirit that doesn't know a cause that's larger than yourself. And that's why a sense of meaning, whether you are a lawn cutter, a pizza maker, a coder, a manager, a leader of a nation, you've got to fill your mind and your heart with noble pursuits that speak to the angels of your higher powers. And once you start doing that, and that doesn't just mean knowing your mighty mission, it also means, the people you follow on social media, the magazines, whether they're digital or terrestrial, that you read, the books you read, the people you associate with. If those people are full of inspiration and artistry, and they want to release their magic to the world, and they want to do good things, and their talk is robust and thoughtful, then that's going to lift you up. It's going to fill your whole internal ecosystem with positivity. But if you're around energy stealers and thought bandits and people who are playing victim and giving away their power to the economy or through all the disruption in the world or to their past, well, then you're going to be surrounded by powerless people who will then demean your primal glory so you too become powerless. And the key to productivity is simplicity. Don't try to do even 5 main projects, Taj Mahal worthy projects, or Sistine Chapel ceiling masterworks. Focus on one. Don't try to have 50 friends. Focus on a few good friends. Don't fill your days with so many activities. Fill them with one key work activity when you're working. It's so easy to give away your genius digital distractions, to be checking your messages. You could be in flow state. That's a term coined by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi when he was at the University of Chicago, to speak to that state of transient hypofrontality. We go very, very deep into the neuroscience of mastery and how the superstars achieve exponential productivity and how you dominate your domain in a world of turbulence and uncertainty in my mentoring in the Circle of Legends monthly digital coaching program. And if you're interested, all the information is below. But for now, I just want to remind you, you are at war. A war against distraction, interruption, and digital diversion. A lot of people are losing the best days of their finest hours, or I should say the best days of their lives, just being busy but not being productive. And that's a key point I want you to really contemplate and meditate on, which is please don't confuse busyness with productivity. Please don't confuse movement with mastery.
Rule number 3, start new practices.
People who are successful and productive and happy and loving and serving the world, well, they just got lucky. And that's absolutely not true. If I was to deconstruct it, they study a lot, they have great mentors, they work really, really hard. So you don't get lucky, you create lucky. The most successful people in world-class lives don't come from talent. Lots of good research on that now. They actually are not genetic. You know, if you look at Beethoven, you look at Jean-Michel Basquiat, you look at Aristotle Onassis, you look at the moonwalkers, you look at great musicians, you look at any industry titan. These people, it was less about talent and it was more about grit. Grit is that resolve where you, through practice every day, you do what you say you will do. That's what resolve is. You know, flaky performers, it's like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to build a business. Yes, I'll help you. Yes, I'll do this for you tomorrow. Yes, I'll deliver this. And it's all talk, less do. So if you look at world class, it is less about your genetics and it's more about your habits. That's really the basis of talent, having good daily habits, like joining the 5 a.m. club, like, running the 5 great hour rule that I talk about in the Circle of Legends, my monthly mentoring program, where if you look at the research, it doesn't make any sense to work more than 5 intense world-class hours every day. I call it the 5 great hours concept. And then after that, go get a massage, take a nap, read a book, go for a walk, hang out with your family. It's not about the hustle and grind. Really, world-class performance is less about working really hard 24/7, and it's more about working really hard when you work and then taking the time to recover and rest. And if you look at one of the models I teach in my mentoring methodology, it's called the twin cycles of elite performance. You'll see that there's the high excellence cycle, the HEC, and then the DRC, the deep recovery cycle. And every day, work for 5 hours, the 5 great hours concept, and then pull back and have fun, rest, renew. And then every week, take a weekend off. Every month, try to take a week off. Every year, try to take two months off. And the interesting thing is, number 1, rest is the elite performer's secret weapon. Number 2, this is so important. If you want to get more done, take more time off. Because if you're working 24/7 in a linear way versus like a pulse, what starts to happen is you erode and deplete your genius. And in my methodology, I teach the 5 assets of genius, including mental focus, physical energy, 3, personal willpower. But just remember, if all you do is work, you're going to empty your batteries. You're going to deplete your well. And that's why the smartest performers, the great athletes, the great industry titans, the great humanitarians, these people all have learned one thing: work in cycles. If you were to look at the great weightlifters of the Olympics, they all had one thing in common, and it was periodization. Periodization. And periodization simply means they worked, they exercised, and then they rested. I remember watching a Mike Tyson documentary. It was excellent. He said, when I was heavyweight champion of the world, I only did 3 things. I trained, I ate, and I slept.
Rule number 4, exercise every single day.
Right now, you're probably an entrepreneur or maybe a business builder, a creative person of some sort, or you're building a family, or you're building an empire of spirituality, or you're working on your health. Whatever it is, you have some mountaintop that you're chasing. And along the way, it is a little bit of a war. It could be a war of self-doubt. It could be a war against temptation. It could be a war against distraction, because we all have these competing diversions looking for our attention versus staying monomaniacally focused on the few projects or pursuits that'll get us to where we want to get to. So few of us exploit the power of exercising every day. We know that if we exercise, we know it will allow us to live longer. It will give us more energy. It will boost our willpower. It'll release dopamine, the inspirational neurotransmitter, so we feel stronger. It'll release serotonin, so we feel more relaxed. We know exercise promotes neurogenesis, so you'll have more brain cells. We know it actually accelerates learning and processing. We know it releases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, that John Rady calls miracle grow for the brain in his wonderful book, Spark. So why wouldn't you exercise every single day? And not many people love getting up at 5 a.m. and exercising for at least 20 minutes. But think about how you feel after those 20 minutes. You feel phenomenal, and it's your neurochemistry at work and your neurobiology at work, and you have this in you. It's the way your brain and body has been constructed. You just got to force yourself to wire it into a habit. And if you believe me, and there's tons of science that proves it, but if you believe me that exercise is a total game changer, and I recommend to you, do it first thing in the morning, because the rest of your day, in terms of your mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set, productivity and performance and happiness is fundamentally different. Why would you only do it once a day? So my encouragement with great love and respect is do it from 5 to 5:20, and then at the end of your workday, do a second wind workout. The second wind workout. And so if you believe that exercise increases your energy and your focus and your happiness and your productivity, why would you only do it once a day? So at the end of your workday, you do a second wind workout. It could be a yoga class. It could be walking in nature, as I love to do on most days, or going for a mountain bike ride, because when you exercise in nature, it's amazing what starts to happen. You get the fresh air, you get the sunlight, you get the color of the leaves, you reconnect to your spiritual self, you get to breathe the fresh air. Amazing. I recently heard a piece of cutting edge science, which is when you sleep, it's recently been discovered that a fluid moves through your brain that metaphorically washes your brain. I mean, it's amazing the level of research and science that's coming out right now. The point really is it's so important to have deep rest for your energy, for brain optimization and cognition, which is how you think. It's so important to rest because we know muscles grow in the rest and recovery. And a lot of us are very sleep deprived. So make sure you think about your sleep. Make sure you turn off all your digital devices after 8 o'clock. So melatonin is at its best and it's in its proper form. So you sleep deeply, sleep in a cool room. If you can, take a nice hot bath before you sleep with Epsom salts, and then take a cold shower. So then you're actually going to get more melatonin. Again, no technology in your room is very, very important. And yeah, get your sleep into world-class condition.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, use challenging times to grow.
Any authenticity I have, any vulnerability I have, any relatability I have, any creativity I really have has come not from the times on the mountaintop and all the applause and celebration. It's come from those winters of heartbreak where I felt alone and I felt confused and I felt like I didn't fit into the world and I felt depleted, exhausted, and heartbroken. And the very things that were most hurtful to me, I've realized, are the very things that have become the most helpful to me. And even the people who have hurt me, I've realized those people were my spiritual friends. I could have pointed the finger at them. I could have blamed them. I could have been angry at them. Instead, what I encourage you is rather than judging people, try to understand people. Everyone does the best that they know how to do based on where they're at. And if they could have done better, they would have done better. Everyone is operating at the level of consciousness they know. And if they were more conscious, more awake, if they were bigger, if they were more intimate with their greater wisdom and their true humanity and that native hero that rests inside every human heart, they would have operated at that level. You can use your difficult times as platforms for possibility so you grow into the artist, productive, hero, and human being that you're destined to be.
Rule number 6, develop personal responsibility.
Blaming others is removing responsibility for yourself. And we grow as leaders, entrepreneurs, creatives, human beings, the moment and the day we stop blaming our parents or our past or people who hurt us or our bosses or our children or whatever, or the economy or the country. Every time you recite some blame and make an excuse, you actually amplify it in your imagination. What I mean by that is every time you speak out an excuse of blame, and you're giving away your power and you're becoming weaker. You're actually giving the external things that you blame your power. How do you take your power back? You stop using the language of victimhood and you use the language of heroism. And that starts with believing you are the hero you're waiting to see. It starts by absolute personal responsibility. The mirror test is what I'm suggesting. You look in the mirror and you say, why am I not producing mastery, if that's one of your limitations? Or why don't I have enough time freedom? Or why don't I have the relationships I want? Or why is my health in a decrepit state versus a magnificent state? You look at what's not working in your life, and rather than blaming and coming up with excuses, which if you keep on reciting them, you're going to actually believe they're true, because human beings are really good at brainwashing ourselves by what we think and how we feel and the ways we talk and the ways we operate. So APR, absolute personal responsibility. Related to that is KMF, another acronym I love and teach to my high-level clients, which is keep moving forward. You know, Angela Duckworth's research from University of Pennsylvania on grit and persistence as a key formula for world-class performance is very, very valuable. And then a new acronym, which is NSG. NSG has nothing to do with MSG. And that's never stop growing. I mean, when I work with the best of the Fortune 100 CEOs and teams, clients of ours such as Starbucks and Oracle and Nike and IBM and Barrick Gold, and it just goes on for my 24th year here in the leadership and personal mastery field. And when I just work with the NBA superstars and the film heroes and all the great women and men that I've been blessed to serve as their mentor, what I realize is one thing: they love to grow, they love to learn, they never lose. I believe it was Einstein who said, never lose your holy curiosity. Education is the game changer. When you invest in your learning, you can see around corners. You collapse the timeline. You figure out how the pros do it. So guess what? You can do it.
Rule number 7, work smart.
What our culture teaches us is that it's a badge of honor to work 24/7, 365. It's a badge of honor to rise and grind and spend all your time working. But what science has shown us, and some of the research from the Energy Project, to give credit where it's due, is that the best performers are not working in a linear way, they work in a cyclical way. And here's what I mean by that. If you look at the best athletes, for example, it's not what they do on the tennis court that makes them great, it's what they do in between points in terms of their recovery that allows them to win the championships. And so when I mentor the billionaires, here's one of the first things that I teach them. The key to world-class productivity is not working in a linear way. In other words, the key to really getting epic things done is not getting up in the morning and working till late at night. The key is to be much more like a sprinter versus a marathoner. The key is much more work in short bursts of intense productivity and then take the time to recover. So every day, work for a few hours, and then take some time to go for a walk. Then work for another few hours, and then take some time to maybe take a nap. And then each week, take a day or take 2 days off. Every month, take a few days off. I mean, rest and recovery is not a luxury, it's an absolute necessity.
Rule number 8, maintain a white belt mentality.
As you get more traction around your ambitions, as more people follow you, as people fall in love with your magic, as you raise your game, here's what's going to happen. There is a brainwashing process and a heart-washing process and a great human seduction that happens to almost every creative person and every leader. You fall in love with yourself. You actually believe your own media releases. And it happens to so many people, and they lose their humility. And it's so profound. One of my favorite stories is there was a Roman slave in the ancient days named Honoriga, and his job was simply this: to stand behind the military commander called the dux and whisper into the ear of the military commander, memento homo, memento homo, memento homo, which means remember you're just a man. In other words, remember you're only human. It is such a great pull when you start to move to higher grades of victory to stop doing the very things that made you successful, to stop learning, to stop going to art galleries, to stop having a mentor, to stop getting up early, to stop taking care of your health set, to stop polishing your beliefs. It is so easy to fall in love with success, and that's why being successful is actually very dangerous, because you might stop doing the very things that brought your magic to the world. So if you want to continually be upgrading your performances, is to never lose that white belt mentality. Never think you're a master. Actually, one thing about masters, they never think they are masters. And the moment you think you are a master, the moment you think you're the most important person in every room that you're in, the moment that your ego screams more loudly than your hunger to grow and represent mastery, is the beginning of your descent into obsolescence and irrelevance. You are only as good as your last performance. I remember reading about one of the icons from Hollywood, and he said it. He said, "I'm only as good as my last picture." It's so easy to sort of hang your hat on something you did a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Maybe, the great musicians, they all have that in common. It's not like, oh, I did this album 40 years ago and I'm sort of still dining out on that great masterpiece. The great ones, the people of great influence, the people of great creativity, they understand that you're only as great as your last performance. The elite athletes I've mentored, this is how they see it. They say, last year's championship performance is this year's starting point. So look, we all want to be satisfied. We all want to be happy. We all want to wake up every day and go through life feeling a sense of joy. But there is a great danger in being completely satisfied. When I work with the billionaires and the titans of industry and the Hollywood superstars, here's what I notice. They're never satisfied. Now, sometimes if you don't manage that unsatisfaction, you're going to be a very unhappy person. I'm just reporting on reality. A lot of the true titans, it's never enough. They are always dissatisfied. They always want to work their craft better. They always want to have more influence. They always want to have greater impact. They always want to grow their movement. So just remember that first element of this deconstruction. Satisfaction breeds stagnation. You want to be joyful and grateful, and yet at the same time, you never want to lose the fire in your belly to be better, to materialize more of your primal genius, to offer value to more people, and to grow the very thing that you do.
Rule number 9, protect your integrity.
Nothing is worth the price of losing your peace of mind. And that's why 5 a.m. is so valuable. You can stand in the tranquility of dawn's early light. That's why nature walks are so powerful. That's why living with integrity is so powerful, because even though it looks like you might be losing, when you just are so honest and you care so much and you keep your promises and you stand for justice and you're generous and fair, it might look like you're losing, but you're absolutely winning. It might take the world a little while to catch up to your goodness and your integrity, but karma always rewards those who run it well. And I would also say it's not only what you get in the world, it's who you become. And if you really want peace, keep your promises and be a just person and care for people and do unexpected things for people who might not notice. Those things, those little triumphs of possibility and humanity and decency will serve you so well, because then every night when your head hits the pillow, you feel absolutely amazing.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is keep your heart open.
Our natural way of being is to connect with the brothers and sisters on our tiny planet. We are taught to hate. We are taught to judge other people by the color of their skin. We are taught to protect our hearts. My suggestion to you is, even if you've been hurt, and of course you have, I have been, even if you've been betrayed, even if you've been generous and your generosity has not been appreciated, do not allow a cold world to close your heart. Because if you can keep it open, if you can stay connected to strangers on the street, connected to your family, even if they don't understand you, connected to your team, connected to your customers, even if they might not totally appreciate you, well, then you rise from average and the majority to the ranks of heroism.
What's the impact that you want to have on the world?
I want to remind people of who they truly are. And when they see Nelson Mandela or Oprah Winfrey, they say, they did it. But legendary is simply a testimony to ordinary people who thought differently, felt differently, and did different things, and thereby became who they were. And if they can do it, I can do it if I go all in. What makes legendary is longevity. I once had a client who did a course at Harvard Business School, and he said, the professor kept on reminding us or asking us, is it sustainable? Is it sustainable? Is it sustainable? So the first thing that anyone who wants to build a world-class company needs to think about is, how can we play for the absolute long run and sustain our success? It's hard enough to get to world-class, but what makes the legends is they sustain world-class. An NBA superstar, it's great to get an NBA world championship. The legends sustain it for 7 years or 10 years, like a Michael Jordan, or look at someone like a Kobe Bryant, who had such a long career. So you want to think about
Tom Brady, who just retired. 24 years or something. Crazy. Yeah,
brilliant example. Brilliant example. And I think one of the things that allows a company, first of all, we could deconstruct the whole thing. You've got to be different. So many companies are copying what everyone else is doing because they don't have the bravery to be unique. What you want to do is we are paid as entrepreneurs and leaders to push magic into the marketplace. If you're not pushing outright magic, Everyday Hero Manifesto, 16 months of obsession in the pandemic is how I wrote it. I wanted every line perfect. We are paid not to push mediocrity. And I think that's what the culture sells us. It's better to push 1,000 mediocrities than a piece of magic into the marketplace, is what the culture says. So you've got all these entrepreneurs pushing out work, books, code, everything every day. Take 4 years, and I'm just giving a metaphor, but Michelangelo spent 4 years handcrafting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Taj Mahal took 22 years. Even one thing that Steve Jobs learned at Pixar, 4 years for every movie. And after he came back to Apple, he brought that philosophy. 4 years for the iMac, 4 years, and then the iPod came out. So one thing, be absolutely different. Raise your standards to push magic into the marketplace, because we are paid to push out product that stuns people with their value. Why else do companies fail? They get more interested in buying, getting their name on monuments than building the great companies. There's a slave, the Roman military commander called the Dux had a slave, and the slave's job was to whisper in his ear, memento homo, memento homo, memento homo. Remember, you're just a man. And what I've seen with so many, I've mentored many billionaires. One of the biggest snares they fall into is the world loves them, the world adores them. They actually start to believe it. I know we don't have time to get into the whole deconstruction on the Titan's decline, but one of the biggest traps people fall into is they forget that it is your customers who you serve. These are the people who put food onto your table. So keep on becoming obsessed with how may I deliver more value to these people than they have any right to receive. And keep on innovating, inventing, getting hungry, getting even better.
Begin. I hear that a lot. Like, where do I start? I would say there is huge power in beginning. There's huge power in starting. It's almost like the universe begins to support you when you take that first step.
Yes.
I would say believe in you when no one else believes in you until the whole world believes in you. I think the reason why we even have the question of where do I begin is from fear. We're paralyzed. So it's start to believe in yourself and start to read books and realize all the great heroes were anonymous for 25 or 30 years before the world celebrated them. I would also say genius is less about genetics and more about your habits. So, start with the philosophy of beginning and starting. Start to believe in yourself. Understand that you're going to be laughed at. You're going to be misunderstood. And every great hero is misunderstood at the beginning. But then install the right habits. And this is where the methodology does follow the philosophy.
Yeah.
Once you get the philosophy, which is just the truth, what do you want your life to stand for? What's most important to you? What are your big five for the rest of your life? What are the key values and beliefs you want to live by? Once you get the philosophy calibrated and you don't follow the world's philosophy, you have the bravery and wisdom to trust what feels right to you. Then start installing the habits that science have proven to work. And for me, it's been the 5 a.m. club is very powerful, the 5 great hours rule, the second wind workout, which is basically if you believe exercise is valuable, why would you only do it once a day? The micro bravery, a great pre-sleep workout, the weekly design system, etc. As you go out and bring your gifts and genius to the world, as you stand for something higher in a world with a lot of people suffering from victimitis, excuse-itis. As you bring your glory to your days, you're going to threaten people. I was in the Barcelona Picasso Museum in the Born District, and there was a quote on the wall in the Picasso Museum that said, people were terrified by the genius of Picasso. So the more you shine, the more you're going to attract shadows and darkness.
Wow.
So here's what I would say. I've actually worked out in my journal what I call the troll deconstruction.
Wow. Is this the journal that got stolen?
It's not the one that got stolen, so I still have it.
Okay.
But that's why journaling's so powerful, because you can actually deconstruct and figure these things out.
Sure.
Okay, so here's what I would say. The people who are attacking you, critics and cynics are frustrated dreamers. When they were kids, they were full of awe and wonder, because that's our natural state. But something happened to them as they moved out in the world and pursued their dreams and ambitions that caused them to contract. And so now there are these armchair critics that see Lewis Howes doing amazing things. Well, you actually model possibility for them. The possibility that exists within their mindsets, heart sets, health set, and soul set. And it's much easier for them to try to tear you down than lift themselves up and get in the game themselves. So that would be the first thing I'd say. The second thing I'd say is everything in life, Mr. Riley, one of the characters, towards the end of the 5 a.m. Club, gets into the philosophy behind greatness and genius and world class and legendary on a Franschhoek, South Africa vineyard, and he writes a series of letters that are transformational for the other characters. And one of the things he talks about is trusting your art. So I think these people who are trying to tear you down are actually your spiritual friends.
How so?
Well, because they are causing you to trust yourself more. I mean, they are strengthening your resolve to pursue your mighty mission. They are helping you. They are touching the wounds within you and the insecurities. And we have a choice. We can blame, which is losing your power, or we can say, how can I use what they're activating within me to heal these wounds, grow stronger, and build the relationship with my primal genius even more. There's a line in the book which it comes from the Spartan warrior credo: sweat more in training and you'll bleed less in war.
Yes.
Victories are won before you even step onto the field. You look at Kobe Bryant, for example, or Shaq, or LeBron, or Federer, or Serena. These people made the moves they made that won them the championship, not because of what they did on the championship court. It was their sweaty, disciplined practice at 5 a.m. while the rest of the world was not watching that allowed them to automate world class in times of pressure. So you're right. 5 a.m., getting up at 5 a.m., joining the 5 a.m. club, giving yourself that time in the quietude when it's the time of least distraction to do the work we're talking about will revolutionize any human life. That's why I say it's the mother of all habits. That's why I'm so passionate about it. Psychologists will tell you that your daily behavior always reflects your deepest beliefs. I'm going to say that again because it's so important. Your daily behavior always reflects your deepest beliefs. Our daily behavior, what we do every day of our life, it always is in alignment with our story of how we see ourselves in the world. Most of us, we have been born into brilliance and resigned into average. Because from the moment we've been born, we pick up these beliefs from the people who raise us, our teachers, our peers, media, society. And so all of those messages intellectually and emotionally that we pick up through what we learn and what we experience, micro and macro trauma, it starts to contract us. When we are first born, we're possibilitarians. We little kids want to be astronauts, and they want to be firefighters, and they want to be billionaires, and they want to be inventors. And then they, 40, 50 years old, they've been contracted and brainwashed and heart-washed into forgetting their promise and their potential. I know your show so much about people's promise and their potential. So the first part is working on your story and reverse hypnotizing yourself. And we can talk in the Everyday Hero Manifesto has hundreds of tools to help you do that. Second word I said was practice. Most people, they go to the gym to practice. They want to be a better skier. I know where you're from, there's great skiing. Well, all change is hard at first, messy in the middle, beautiful at the end, right? So just start practicing the new skill. It'll be hard at first, it'll be messy in the middle, it'll be beautiful at the end. It's a process. People understand that for skiing, they understand that for chess, they understand that for any skill, but when it comes to personal mastery,
they want it in an instant, or they have a belief that it doesn't even work. So practice. We have a gift, a human gift. It's called neuroplasticity. We all can transform. We're built to grow, but we try it for a few days. We listen to a podcast like this, and we don't stay with the process. University College London says it takes 66 days of daily practice to wire in a new habit until it becomes automatic. Most people won't stay with it for 66 days. But I think that idea, if you stay with it for 66 days, is powerful. Now people go, oh, I better stay with it for past a week. Third word I used is consistency. What you do every day is so much more powerful than what you do once a year. So start rewiring your story and your philosophy, and then start practicing like any other skill. Make personal mastery a practice, and that's why the 5M Club is a global movement. It's an institutionalized morning practice to work on yourself while the rest of the world is sleeping. And then finally, consistency. I do want to mention one thing, because there are a lot of messages in personal development that are so, they're so often said they almost sound boring and ubiquitous. And chase your fear is certainly one of those. Mm-hmm. But I do want to mention the Everyday Hero Manifesto it's a very disruptive book, and it's a very contrarian book. I've been in this field for 26 years, and the book is it's full of models that you really won't see anywhere else. Like one, if I can pull it up, but it's called the troll deconstruction, where I've actually deconstructed how to transcend why trolls do what they do. So it's like a whole deconstruction. There's a deconstruction on the Titans decline. My work with Fortune 100 companies, I deconstructed why great companies fall apart. There's a lot in the book that is very contrarian. For example, even everyone's talking about mindset. I talk about the 4 interior empires. Mindset's only one of them. Everyone's talking about hustle and grind. If you look at the science, hustle and grind actually doesn't make you more productive. Working in cycles of intense performance and recovery. So I just wanted to make that point that, the book is a very fresh book, and I'm really excited to bring it to people.
Yeah, fasting, a lot of writing the book, I was in fasted state. And for me, the way it looks
Are you doing intermittent fasting?
Yes. But I want to get to 36 hours, and then I want to go beyond that. Because a lot of the great creatives and mystics. So for me, it's my last meal might be at 9 o'clock, but I won't eat until 4 o'clock, let's say the next day. When I was writing, a lot of the book was written in Rome. I would get up and have 2 cups of coffee, because coffee is a health drink, awesome antioxidant, magnificent cognitive enhancer. And plus, I'm in Italy, drink coffee. And then I just, I'm at a hotel that allowed me to have a tight bubble of total focus, so 0 distraction. And then I go into that flow state, and I would just work on the manuscript in fasted state. And I saved a lot on grocery and food bills. Just imagine it. You know how much time we spend even eating?
Yep.
And and then it would be 3 or 4 o'clock. I'd be in flow. I didn't even know where the time went. And then I'd ask, call the hotel front desk, can you clean my room? I'd go out to the streets, and I'd reground and have something to eat. So basically it would be at least 18 hours without food, and then I'd have the window of eating where I'd eat healthily. I'm on a Mediterranean ketogenic diet, and that's how I do the fasting and nutrition. I know by my energy level and by my mental focus when I'm in ketosis. Rest, like I said, there's a whole chapter in the book on the essentialness of sleep. And the key piece is this. A lot of business builders, a lot of creative performers, a lot of athletes think that it's work harder to achieve more. Well, that's been debunked by science. We all know that we are at our best creatively, productively, and in terms of our performance when we experience intense bursts of elite performance, and then we make the time to recover. I had a person at one of my events recently, he worked with Usain Bolt, and he said, Usain Bolt told him, I sleep 50% of the time to allow the training to take effect. So I run these cycles of intense creativity and productivity, and I've learned to really rest. I take naps. I've done it since I was 18. And recovery is very important in terms of meditation, visualization, or whatever. There's such power in personal improvement. I saw a comment section of an online newspaper, and someone was mocking the idea of self-improvement, but Michelangelo's David in Florence, Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, Jonas Salk's Vaccine, the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, the Taj Mahal. Those were all examples of self-improvement. Our civilization has got to where it's at right now through the progress of people who improve themselves by reaching deep within themselves and saying, I am more than I currently am. And I have a vision and I will materialize it when it's easy, when it's hard, when it's dark, when there's sunshine, when I'm doubtful, when I'm confident. So the second word representing the second piece of advice I'd give if I was dying, let's say, would be grow. Use each day as a platform to build your knowledge base so you can deliver more value. Use each day to grow in your self-awareness. Use each day to grow your muscles and your physicality. Use each day to read and pray and meditate and journal so you grow into and glorify your greatness. It's easier to behave yourself into a new way of thinking than think yourself into a new way of acting.
So act first, and then you'll start to think and believe it, as opposed to think and believe and then start acting.
Practice being spectacular long enough that unspectacularity has no ability to enter your orbit. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, how do the great athletes become great? You know this, you're an athlete.
Practicing nonstop.
It's just practicing nonstop, and the behavioral researchers call it automaticity, right? You practice, people go, well, how do I get discipline? Well, discipline is a muscle. Mm-hmm. You are someone's undisciplined, and then you get out of the bed and you get up early, or you make your bed, or you do 25 push-ups or whatever. And you do it, and you do it, and you do it. And through the power of neuroplasticity, the malleability of the human brain, it's almost like a metaphor is for anyone who wants to make a change and who says, I can't do it. Well, your can't do it is the reason why you're not doing it. Because the can't do it is your weaker self versus your heroic self. So it's almost like a metaphor. You wake up in the morning, and you want to do something. Let's say it's to be a better, more focused, better performer, because an addiction and distraction is the death of your creative production. So it's almost like a wide open mountain meadow. And the first time you practice turning off your phone and practicing what I call in the Everyday Hero Manifesto, the 5 great hours rule. Forget working more than 5 great hours a day. 5 sweaty, intense hours. So say you want to practice that. It's almost like you're walking in a mountain meadow, and it's a pure mountain meadow. You do it after a few weeks, now the meadow becomes a trail because you've practiced it. Eventually, the trail becomes a road, and you keep on practicing it, and eventually the road becomes a highway. And if you keep on practicing it, the highway becomes a super highway. And then if you look at the neurobiology, you've got this circuit, and around it starts to form a fatty tissue called myelin. And some people believe, some neuroscientists believe that myelin is the secret of genius. That's why Wayne Gretzky could send the puck to where it was going versus where it was. That's why Steve Jobs could see around corners, and he was, this favorite word I love, prescient. He could see where everything was going before anyone else could. It's not because these people are cut from a different cloth. It's because they run different protocols, think different thoughts, and they do different things. And what I'd say to wrap that up is, to have the results only 5% of the population has, we've got to be willing to be brave enough and faithful enough to do what 95% of the population are unwilling to do.
I think the world has taught us that a hero is a Nelson Mandela, a Mother Teresa, a Rosa Parks, a Hedy Lamarr, an Albert Einstein, a Ludwig van Beethoven. And sure, those people are great heroes. They influence millions and millions of people. But what about the baker who rises at 4:30 in the morning and does their work like Picasso painted? What about the single mother or father working as a gardener, long hours trying to put food on the table? What about in this world we live in, the frontline workers who risk themselves to serve their communities? What about the teachers? What about the poets who are toiling in anonymity for 20 years, pursuing their vision and their craft when no one really understands them, but they do it because they want to put honest work out into the world. And so I wrote the Everyday Hero Manifesto, Jeff. It's part handbook for exponential productivity. It's part manual for living a world-class life. And it's part instruction book for being a spiritual heavyweight on this planet that needs real heroes. And what I'm trying to do is remind people that you have heroism in you. We've been programmed out of believing our heroism. We haven't been taught the tools that allow us to exploit and express our heroism. But just because we don't think of ourselves often as heroes doesn't mean we are not meant for heroism and can't be heroic.
So how would you define hero in this sense?
Well, the book is like, there's so many different ideas. I mean, someone who pushes masterwork into the marketplace where there's so much mediocrity, definitely heroic.
Yeah.
Someone who is honest in a room of thieves is heroic. Someone who has a vision for their future and what I call a mighty mission, and then progressively moves towards living it, even if there are trolls and haters and cynics, is a hero. Someone who is something as simple as, you're at a bus stop or you're at a train and you see someone in need. I was just doing a little traveling. Someone needs help lifting their bags onto the train. You just do it. Or you see someone, on an airplane, and you lift up their luggage into the overhead compartment because you think it's a polite thing to do. I mean, that's a small act of heroism. How about leaning into your fears? We all have these fears. Most people run away from them. There's a chapter in the book called Hugging Your Monster. And there's a story, there's this grand master, and he's walking up this mountain and he's leading his followers, and they're going to this great monastery. And once they eventually arrive at the monastery, Jeff, they see there's these 3 chained dogs outside of the monastery. And the other people grow a little bit, timid. And then eventually the dogs break free from the chains and they start running towards the group. The other people start running away, but the master does something interesting. He starts running directly towards the dogs. The dogs get even more excited and even more violent. They started running even more quickly towards the master. The master yawns and he laughs and he starts running even more quickly towards the dogs. Eventually, the dogs get scared of this master and they run away and they retreat. And the master yawns again and walks into the monastery. It's a very simple metaphor, but most people, what do? When the barking dogs of our fears run towards us, we run away. But doubts are liars and fears are thieves. And so running towards our fears and hugging our monsters and doing the things that frighten us, that's actually how we get our power back. Every time you do something you are frightened to do, you take the power you gave to the thing you were frightened to do back. And if you do it methodically, consistency daily, you eventually move toward fearlessness. That's heroic.
You said that everybody should have core values. What are some of your most deeply cherished core values?
Service above self. In other words, contribution, impact, service. Number 2, family. I mean, if I could be a 1/10 of the human being my 2 children are, I'd be amazing. Family, I've worked very hard, but I've really worked hard on my family too. Even trying to be a great son, a great brother, all those things. Because we all know, to get to the last day of your life and say, I made a lot of money and I got a lot of likes and I sold a lot of books and I impacted a lot of people, and your own family never got to know you, that's heartbreak. 3rd value, I'm an aesthete, the French word, lover of beauty. That's why I love Los Angeles. Like, we were coming over here and it's like, there's flowers, it's whatever time of the year is, there flowers everywhere, So I love beauty and art and food and people and sunsets, and that's why I love Rome so much. Now that fourth value would be vitality. You know, I really do believe that one of the keys to legendary is longevity. I mean, I want to live till 177. I want to, you know, right? I mean, I'm biohacking and I'm resting and I'm doing the 2 massage protocol and everything possible so I can be rocking my craft and serving as many people as possible when I'm into, you know, I mean, one of the things I'd say is you never want to let an old person anywhere near the inside of your body, right? Because, and we could get into epigenetics and the fact that we have a chronological age and a biological age, but vitality is important. And then I think the final core value is lifestyle. You know, we can serve the world, and that's very important, I know, to both of us. But life is ultimately a really short ride. And so I want to really be around only people. I mean, I am focused. I only want people in my orbit that bring me joy or fuel my joy. I only want to do the pursuits in my business and career and life that bring me joy. And I only go to places where I feel joy. We all want to be satisfied. We all want to be happy. We all want to wake up every day and go through life feeling a sense of joy. But there is a great danger in being completely satisfied. When I work with the billionaires and the titans of industry and the Hollywood superstars, here's what I notice. They're never satisfied. Now, sometimes if you don't manage that unsatisfaction, you're going to be a very unhappy person. I'm just reporting on reality. A lot of the true titans, it's never enough. They are always dissatisfied. They always want to work their craft better. They always want to have more influence. They always want to have greater impact. They always want to grow their movement. So just remember that first element of this deconstruction. Satisfaction breeds stagnation. You want to be joyful and grateful, and yet at the same time, you never want to lose the fire in your belly to be better, to materialize more of your primal genius, to offer value to more people, and to grow the very thing that you do. When I was growing up, my father, who's just celebrated his 83rd birthday, beautiful. And he's one of the great heroes of my life. And when I was growing up, Marie, he shared something from Rabindranath Tagore, the Bengali poet, that I've never forgotten. And my dad used to say, son, when you were born, you cried while the world rejoiced. He said, Robbin, live your life in such a way that when you die, the world cries while you rejoice. And what I mean by that is, no matter how long we get to live, like right now, everyone on the planet, in 100 years, we're going to be dust.
Dust. Total dust. Powder.
And so all the things that we think are so important, the accolades, applause, the number of likes, followers, bikini pics or wearing the right watch, none of that matters. And I believe only 2 things matter on the last hour of our last day. Number 1, who did you become? Were you good? Were you authentic? Did you walk towards your fears and, as messy and bloody as it was, walk through them so you wear your scar tissue with pride? Get your morning routine right. One of the key themes in the 5 a.m. Club is, as you start your morning, so you construct and build your day. The Spartan warriors said it amazingly. They said, sweat more in training and you'll bleed less in war. So you look at most people and they begin their day like a 5-alarm fire. They start checking their email, they start, hitting the ground running. And so what the 5 a.m. Club method is really all about is the 20-20-20 formula that has worked amazing results with the titans and the A players and the billionaires and the sports superstars that I've worked with. And it's simply the first 20 minutes of your day is intense exercise, and we can get into why that's important in terms of dopamine and reducing cortisol and serotonin and norepinephrine. And then after that, the second 20-minute pocket, which we can get into, is all about reflection, which is where
journaling, meditation.
It's journaling and it's meditation and it's visualization, and you can do some affirmations. And guess what? You could just sit there in solitude and think. I mean, the great heroes of the world were more thoughtful than ordinary people. I would say pleasing comes from fear and a lack of standing in your true power. There's a distinction I make in the 5 a.m. Club between fake power, big office, for example, lots of money, jets, titles. That's fake power. True power is Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi. He died with under 10 possessions. That's true power. He did not get his power from who he was in the world and by pleasing people. He got his power by intimacy with his highest nature. That's true power. So what's the difference between pleasing and service? Pleasing comes from scarcity and fear, self-loathing and insecurity. If they don't like me, then I'm not enough. Well, any great genius, the great women and men of the world stood alone even if they were an army of one. Galileo, Coco Chanel, Catherine Graham, Shakespeare, Jean-Michel Basquiat. If you look at the great producers of the planet, they were ridiculed before they were revered. You can change the world or you can be liked by everyone. You don't get to do both. So service comes from, here's my vision. Maybe it's the internet, maybe it's Apple, maybe it's, writing a book or a movie. Here's my vision. And even if the world laughs at me, I am so strong in my vision to serve, to disrupt the field, to bring on value, and to live my truth, that even if they shoot me and take a bullet, I will continue at all costs. That is a titan. That's a legend. But a lot of us have not done the inner excavation. And that's why I go back to the 4 interior empires. That's why the 5 a.m. club, 5 to 6, the victory hour, doing the protocols that I teach in the book is transformational. Because the doorway to success doesn't open outward. If you get it inward and build that core, that warrior meets poet self, you go out in the world, you're powerful. If you give yourself that 1 hour that I call the victory hour, free from distraction, free from interruption, what you're doing is you are building an inner core of heroism and undefeatability so that 6 o'clock you feel fundamentally different. Your neurobiology is on fire. Your metabolic rate is higher. You know this. You've actually connected with your values. If you've taken some time to journal, you've connected with your mountaintop, you're grounded in what's most important, you've practiced some calm, and you've even done some learning. You're far more intentional, stronger, and energetic and creative by 6 o'clock. Then you go out into our messy world where there's confusion and you face challenges, but you're not busy being busy. You're monomaniacally focused on the few things that will get you to your Mount Everest. Being meticulous, if not impeccable, around promise keeping is a great way to increase your self-discipline and your willpower and your character and your spirituality. If you say to someone you will call them next week to take them for lunch, do it. You say to someone you're reading an amazing new book, you've heard about it, it's called the Everyday Hero Manifesto, or any book, of course. And you say you'll send it to them because you love it so much, do it. And as you become meticulous and outright impeccable with keeping your promises, you get to a place where you simply cannot not follow through on your promises. And it builds such credibility in other people's eyes, but it really gives you this iron will. Even if you say you're going to do a workout, so your self-promises, follow through on those. The more you follow through on self-promises, the stronger your willpower gets. Remember, it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the more you exercise it, the stronger it will become.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Simon Sinek, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
So there's another guy who does what I do. He's extremely well respected. He does extremely good work. I hate him. I haven't